Postmodern Condition by Jean-Francois Lyotard. 3. The Method, Language Games. The reader will already have noticed that in analyzing this problem within the framework set forth, I have favored a certain procedure, emphasizing facts of language, and in particular their pragmatic aspect. To help clarify what follows, it would be useful to summarize, however briefly, what is meant here by the term pragmatic. A denotative utterance such as, "The university is sick," made in the context of a conversation or an interview, positions its sender, its addressee, and its referent in a specific way. The utterance places the sender in the position of knower. The addressee is put in the position of having to give or refuse their assent, and the referent itself is handled in a way unique to denotatives, as something that demands to be correctly identified and expressed by the statement that refers to it. If we consider a declaration such as "the university is open," pronounced by a dean or rector at convocation, it is clear that the previous specifications no longer apply. Of course, the meaning of the utterance has to be understood, but that is a general condition of communication and does not aid us in distinguishing the different kinds of utterances or their specific effects. The distinctive feature of the second performative utterance is that its effect upon the referent coincides with its enunciation. The university is open because it has been declared open in the above-mentioned circumstances. That this is so is not subject to discussion or verification on the part of the addressee, who is immediately placed within the new context created by the utterance. As for the sender, they must be invested with the authority to make such a statement. Actually, we could say it the other way around. The sender is dean or rector. That is, they are invested with the authority to make this kind of statement, only insofar as they can directly affect both the referent and the addressee in the manner I have indicated. A different case involves utterances of the type: "Give money to the university." These are prescriptions. They can be modulated as orders, commands, instructions, recommendations, requests, prayers, pleas, etc. Here, the sender is clearly placed in a position of authority, using the term broadly. That is, they expect the addressee to perform the action referred to. The pragmatics of prescription entail concomitant changes in the posts of addressee and referent. Of a different order, again, is the efficiency of a question, a promise, a literary description, a narration, etc. I am summarizing. Wittgenstein, taking up the study of language again from scratch, focuses his attention on the effects of different modes of discourse. He calls the various types of utterances he identifies along the way language games. What he means by this term is that each of the various categories of utterance can be defined in terms of rules specifying their properties and the uses to which they can be put, in exactly the same way as the game of chess is defined by a set of rules determining the properties of each of the pieces, in other words, the proper way to move them. It is useful to make the following 3 observations about language games. The first is that their rules do not carry within themselves their own legitimation, but are the object of a contract, explicit or not, between players. The second is that if there are no rules, there is no game, that even an infinitesimal modification of one rule alters the nature of the game, that a move or utterance that does not satisfy the rules does not belong to the game they define. The third remark is suggested by what has just been said. Every utterance should be thought of as a move in a game. This last observation brings us to the first principle underlying our method as a whole. To speak is to fight in the sense of playing, and speech acts fall within the domain of a general agonistics. This does not necessarily mean that one plays in order to win. A move can be made for the sheer pleasure of its invention. What else is involved in that labor of language harassment undertaken by popular speech and by literature? Great joy is had in the endless invention of turns of phrase, of words and meanings, the process behind the evolution of language on the level of parole. But undoubtedly, even this pleasure depends on a feeling of success won at the expense of an adversary. At least one adversary, and a formidable one, the accepted language or connotation. This idea of an agonistics of language should not make us lose sight of the second principle, which stands as a complement to it and governs our analysis, that the observable social bond is composed of language moves. An elucidation of this proposition will take us to the heart of the matter at hand.